Karla Castillo, welcome to the Lean Out podcast. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you, Dawn?
I'm doing great. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your work life balance and how it's different from other people in your chosen profession.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name's Karla Castillo. I am a registered nurse by profession and personal life. I'm a mom, wife, and I homeschool my kids. And in terms of your question, how I balance work life, my family's priority. So my job that I currently do is that I am a nursing student tutor. So I prioritize family first and I do the tutoring business on the side.
Yes. And when I had talked to you originally about doing this interview, I loved how you described yourself as a mom and a wife first. So many people, they go to what their profession is as their identity. Like when someone asks them about themselves, that's like the first thing that they talk about without any kind of prompting about
Yeah.
asking about your job. It's just like, well, I'm a nurse or, well, I'm a doctor. And I love that you said that you're a mom and a wife first. Tell me a little bit about your family.
Yeah. So we're a family of five. I have three little ones. Well, one's not so little, but I've got three kids and I've been homeschooling them pretty much their entire educational time. And I have chickens and I have a dog. So that's also part of my personal life as well.
Yeah, so we have a lot in common. We live in the same town and we met through a homeschooling group with
Mhm.
our daughters. And as an aside, I didn't know you had a third kid. Um,
Yes.
how old is your other kid?
Oh my gosh. He's a teenager. So
Oh, okay. Maybe you told me that before and I just forgot. But so he is also homeschooled.
yes, yes. I've been homeschooling him since before the pandemic.
Mm,
And then he went to public school for a bit, but then my daughters have been homeschooled the entirety of the educational time.
yeah. And when we met, we talked a little bit about how you were a recent transplant to our small town in Utah. So tell me what brought you to move from California to Utah.
Oh my gosh, yes. I was actually in the Los Angeles area, very overcrowded, very stressful. I had a lot of anxiety problems
Mm.
and it was just overwhelming where you can't even take care of yourself because it's almost like the area um, decides for you what's correct for you. You have to be into that busy life schedule where you're expected to be just like everyone else, busy, busy. So I was extremely anxious. I had started a YouTube channel and I was told that I had to have social media and everything. So I started becoming part of that and it was causing a lot of anxiety, plus just being surrounded by a lot of people who were in that same mindset where, hey, you have to be busy all the time. You have to have a presence online and you have to be online every single day. And it just caused so much anxiety for me. And I was like, this is not the lifestyle I want. This is not what I had dreamed of. So my husband had the same mindset for himself too. We always wanted to live more of a farm life and less stress, less congestion from society and less influence from society for us and our children, especially. So we came over here. We always wanted to come over here. We finally had the opportunity to, and we're enjoying it. Like I said, I feed my 23 chickens. I have a large yard for many projects that I want to do, farming and livestock and all of that. So we've been truly, truly enjoying it here.
That's wonderful. And your husband was also working remotely or had like a job that could
Yeah.
freely move. Were you
Yes,
doing this tutoring business before you guys made the big move to a small town?
I was. Yeah. Um, I was tutoring um, before we moved, but my husband was not remote, quite fully remote. So when he finally had that opportunity, we took it immediately and we're like, we could finally leave this area. So it was perfect.
So, what made you decide to switch from working as a bedside RN? And tell me a little bit about what capacity you were in. Like, what was the work environment? Were you in a clinic? Were you in a hospital? And then
Right.
why this education business?
Right. So I was a bedside med surg tele RN and I worked full time and it was very stressful. I loved it, but it was very stressful. And I had to configure my family like around that full schedule. And it was overwhelming for me. I was sleep deprived. I worked night shifts. And it got to a point where I was like, I can't do this. So let me go part time. And that worked great for a while. So I transitioned to part time as a bedside nurse. But at one point, I ended up injuring myself. I broke my two vertebrae. And so I wasn't able to work bedside. And at that point, like I didn't really have the same perspective that I have right now. So I thought my career life was over. Like I was like disabled for like a year and a half. I couldn't move. I had people taking care of me, bathing me, wiping my butt. And so it was a very stressful time in my life where I felt so defined by that career where they told me, you know what, you can't do bedside nursing for several years until you recover from this because you have a high risk factor for breaking more bones. Because I broke my bones doing a shoulder shrug, like literally nothing. So my whole life felt like it fell apart. And at that point, I was like, well, maybe this is like a blessing in disguise. Maybe this is the perfect opportunity for me to do what I've always wanted to do, and it's to teach nursing students. But I was so terrified because it was going to have to be something on my own account. I would not have someone to pay me. It was all like all the effort that I would put in would be on me. And it was just terrifying. So I was like, I'm not going to make the same as a nurse. I'm not going to get clients. And so I was so terrified. And thankfully, I was able to start my own tutoring business where, like right now, I just stopped working with the client right before I got on this call and I'm done for the day. So the rest of my day is going to be scheduled to spend time with my family and my kids. So now with my tutoring business, I get to control my life. I work when my kids are sleeping, and when they wake up, they see mom all day long. And we get to focus on our values and our priorities in life. So that's where I am now. I am now doing education, but it started off with me doing bedside nursing.
It's a wonderful story and a real testament to looking at fear in the eyes and just saying, like, I am going to do this thing and I'm going to try it and I'm going to start. And if I fail, it's okay. I know that I'll be okay. I have said many times on the podcast and in talks and in writing that confidence is really about having your own back. And that's a perfect example of that. And no pun intended. I didn't realize you had hurt your back and that was the breaking point for changing your career this way.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really talk about it too often. I mean, you might have seen this in real life with yourself. Like when people ask you, "Oh, why don't you do nursing or why don't you do a physician work anymore? Or like, why don't you do so much of it?" Like, even though I have my values set, like I sometimes still feel embarrassed about like, yeah, I'm a registered nurse, but I don't do bedside care. I tutor. And some people see tutoring as like a low level job. And I know like I make a big impact. I know it's a high quality profession in my eyes, but I still feel that shame because of like what society has told us about what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to aspire to. So I don't really share it that often.
Yeah, I think that what you're getting at is very, very common and normal. And I would say that I don't experience it as much as I used to. Maybe it's somewhat of a factor of age. And it's not just my age, but it's also the number of years I've been working in the field or something. Like I definitely get that where people are like, well, what's your other job? Because they do per diem. And I say, well, I don't have another job. This is all I do. And then they just look at you like deer in the headlights, like, what?
Right. Yeah.
You're actually choosing to not do the entire treadmill of achievement and do
Right.
all of the things that everyone expects you to do. What? I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And yeah, it's definitely something that still occasionally like little pings, come where someone says something or looks at you in a certain way and you're just kind of like, yep, that little slight feeling of shame. And I mean, it's an evolutionary holdover. It's there because we were meant to be belonging to a group. And so anytime that you feel shunned, but we don't need to be that way anymore. And I love it
Right.
because we can all go our own way and we can do work in whatever manner we want it to be. When you're demonstrating that. So tell me what it is that you love about educating nursing students and tutoring.
Yeah. So Uh, I always knew that I love to teach. So that's why I homeschool my kids. I feel like I'm a fun teacher. I can make concepts simple. I can make because I have ADHD, so I really struggled with my own personal education. I had my honors in my nursing program. I graduated with honors, but I felt like I struggled to understand a lot of the concepts I was memorizing. I felt like a Quizlet nurse when I graduated, where it's just like memorizing facts but not truly understanding them because I didn't have instructors to be able to take their time and explain things in a way that was simple and easy to understand. So my ADHD brain was just like spacing out or reading like paragraphs 10 times over and not understanding what I was reading. So I thought I was going to do a change and teach in a more way that was simple for nursing students that would actually encourage them to want to learn, to be fascinated by the human body and how its complexities work. And so I knew that I had this gift of education. So I wanted to make sure that I could share that with other nursing students. And over the years, I've made a huge impact. I've been able to help thousands of nursing students because I go by that philosophy of simplicity and engagement. I don't know if you've heard of the quote by Albert Einstein. I might be misquoting it, might not say exactly word by word, but it says something like, if you can't teach it to a 6-year-old, then you don't understand it yourself. And that's kind of been my motto to be able to simplify things for nursing students. Yes, they're full adults, but maybe they weren't taught how to understand information themselves, how to study. So I've been blessed enough to be able to do that and to share my knowledge with nursing students in a way that they actually enjoy and then can use that to help patients or use that to teach others themselves.
That's wonderful. And I love how your YouTube channel, you're very vulnerable on the channel. You talk about your own ADHD diagnosis and how to distill difficult concepts in a way that is understanding of all different types of learning styles, which is great. What made you want to do the YouTube channel on top of direct work with students?
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is a mix of silly nonsense combined with educational material, but the silly nonsense was intentional. I I am naturally someone who's not very shy. I'm someone who doesn't get embarrassed like with sharing my face on videos. And I was like, this is perfect. I can make nursing fun, nursing education content fun. And so I started my YouTube channel with the intention of teaching people worldwide who are really struggling with nursing concepts. But when I first started my channel, I was like getting 0 views. And I was like, okay, how am I going to get more people? And I had to really work hard to be funny, even though I'm not funny. So I try to be funny on my channel and I try to make my content engaging and fun. The intention was to educate and educate in a way that students actually understand and are watching the video because they're engaged. They're not feeling like they're in a lecture. So that was the basis of starting my channel.
And we talked a little bit about when we saw each other recently about the idea that these types of work endeavors are really very self motivated. And like you mentioned earlier in the interview, if you are not putting in the work, you're not going to be getting any sort of benefits, whether that's monetary or non monetary. You just are not spoon fed your work and told, like, okay, you show up for work and this is what you need to do today. And oh, by the way, you're just going to get paid and here's what you do. And so
Mhm.
it's in some ways, doing an entrepreneurial path is harder. And you've considered maybe adding back in some bedside work. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I love teaching students. I've been doing it for several years. There's a part of me that starts to feel like a little bit of a disconnect with what I'm teaching versus my experience because it's been a few years since I've been bedside. So that disconnection is making me want to seek a bedside opportunity, but only part time. I don't want to get consumed by overworking again and end up in that anxious state. So uh, finding that work-life balance is thankfully very easy in our healthcare professions because there's a lot of per diem opportunities, a lot of um, opportunities where you only have to work a few days a month. So I do want to work bedside, retrain myself, get some skills, reconnect with patients, and make that connection between what I'm teaching students versus what I'm doing in real life, but just not to the point where it overtakes my work-life balance. Mm. I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, you have a lot of self-knowledge, and you've demonstrated that in just the minutes that we've been chatting. And so you will go into opportunities knowing that you have a certain type of vision for what you're looking for. And so I think that's great. And we talked a little bit about this and the idea of going back and motivations. And I think those motivations seem very, very real and aligned with your values. So tell me a little bit about how you navigate the uncertainty of being an entrepreneur, how financial or just hours and work uncertainty, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So when you leave the ladder of business and the ladder of trying to excel and get more degrees and more certificates and all of that, and you end up having to be an entrepreneur and do things for yourself, it's scary because you don't have a stable income. You have to do all the work. You have to come up with all of the ideas. So when you step away from that, you have to have a support system. You have to have your values strong and stable so that you can use those to do what you prioritize in life. Like, for example, I prioritize family in my life. And like, there's no way I could have done any of this without my faith. So I had to rely heavily on my faith to trust that, okay, so I'm going to prioritize my family. God, please help me out because I don't know if I'm going to be able to feed my family if I leave bedside nursing. I don't know if um, my income will be enough to suffice. So you have to make sacrifices to be able to prioritize what you want in life. You have to maybe stop spending on um, things in life that don't matter, brand name items, that fancy car, to be able to get what you actually prioritize. So I had to step away from looking at all these shiny objects and I had to put my trust in God. And then I had a really, really great support system. My husband, he's amazing. He has the same shared values as me. So it was really easy to support each other in this transition for me to have a nice stable income, to him trusting that my tutoring business was going to do well, which thankfully it's done so well to the point where I make more hourly as a tutor than I was making as a bedside nurse. So it's been a huge blessing for me to do that and step away from um, that career obsessed lifestyle.
It's wonderful to hear. How was the beginning of starting the business and getting the clients? What kind of practices did you put in place to attract people or to figure out, where your clients hung out or, how to get them?
Yeah, that's so hard. And I'm sure you know that yourself, right? The struggle for that, the beginning, at least is the hardest part. So I had to rely on a lot of networking. So I was able to reach maybe a few nursing students with my YouTube channel. So that's how it all started, where they saw my videos, either like they were like, hey, who is this nurse? Like, what does she do? And they started looking like, oh, she's got educational content. Oh my gosh, she knows her stuff. Like, I love her teaching. So I got a lot of clients via my YouTube channel. It started off slow, my YouTube channel, but quickly I gained a lot of um, subscribers. And from there, I got some clients. And then by word of mouth, by like just networking and be like, hey, like if you have any nursing students in your school who are struggling. And from now on, it's just been a lot of word of mouth. Like I don't really reach out or try to do as much as I used to in terms of networking. A lot of it has been word of mouth and just getting clients from my YouTube channel. So the more content that I make on my YouTube channel, the more clients that I get, and it's been a direct correlation in that sense.
And tell us the name of your YouTube channel or what your account is called.
Yeah. So my handle is at Nurse Karla, Karla with a K. So short, simple, Nurse Karla. And then if anyone is ever interested in tutoring, whether RN, LVN, LPNs, if you go to my website, dominatenursing.com is my website where you can either reach out to me for any questions or schedule a tutoring session for help.
Awesome. Carla, in these last few moments of chatting with you, which I love doing, can you give any advice to listeners who are feeling stuck, feeling burned out? Maybe they're staring down an injury and wondering what is going to happen to their identity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much I can say on the topic. It's been a lived experience for me. One of the things that I like to tell people when they're like, "How like you look so happy, like compared to before, you look so at ease." I tell them, you know what? It's okay to slow down. You don't have to worry about the pedigree. Like I got my master's in nursing education, and at some points I'm like, is that really necessary? Did I have to go all that way? I felt so forced to do that. So if you slow down, it doesn't mean you waste your potential. Don't be like me, where I was like, oh my gosh, my life is over. I can't work bedside anymore. I wasted years of education, getting my master's, and now I'm tutoring. Like that was a big point, a big emotional point in my life. So it's okay. Things are going to work out. Find your values, trust your values. If you focus on your values, everything else will work out. You'll make it work. You don't need someone else's validation. Just focus on your values. And then I guess one more other thing I would say is see who benefits from what you do. That's probably a big thing that it took me a while to realize who's benefiting from all of these sleepless nights and who's benefiting from me working overtime. Like, is there like who's benefiting and is that who I want to benefit? So do you want your family to benefit first or do you want people in your career to benefit first? So those are probably like the three main meaty points that I would say is just it's okay to slow down, focus on your values, don't worry so much about validation, and then reflect on who truly benefits from all the work and sweat and equity that you're putting in. And is that who you want to benefit from all your sweat and hard work? Right.
I love it. These are great, and I'm going to use them in my takeaways for sure. So, thank you so much for summarizing those. And thank you so much for talking with me and agreeing to come on the show today, Carla. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yes, it's always so fun to talk to you, Dawn. So thank you for having me. This was so fun. And hopefully, this helps somebody who's struggling with work life balance and who's really struggling with burnout. So I appreciate you bringing me on and that we share the same values, you and I, so that we can help others who are struggling to also be able to follow their dreams.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.